Welcome to the fourth day of our trip. After quite a rough night last night, we decided that we'd head back into the gorge that we were at yesterday and try and capture it in some different conditions. But before doing that, we decided that we'd spend a little bit of time around the Big Bend campsite and try and capture some photos around there. I think Julien got a few from there, but I honestly wasn't too happy with the ones I captured. So I'll leave those in the darkness and preferably not share them. But before we left, we had to test out Julien's drone and see what the damage really was on it. Now in this video, it doesn't look too bad, but in reality, the drone was unflyable. It was completely unsafe for him to take it off, so for the rest of the trip, poor Julien was stuck without a drone and having to borrow mine. Nevertheless, we headed out of camp and headed towards Boowinda Gorge once again to capture some new photos. So stay tuned. Here we are on day 4 of the trip. Pretty rough night last night. We were kept up probably up till 3 a.m. by some loud thunder and a storm rolling through. It was a lot hotter than I expected, so I found it really hard to get to sleep. So we're running on not much sleep today, but we've woken up to a nice rain shower sort of happening through the morning, and we decided to head back to the gorge that we were at yesterday taking sunset photos. And the scene's completely changed. Now it's like there's a line going through the gorge where we have pebbles that have not been hit by water and ones that have. So there's that really nice contrast between the dark and the white stones. And I think that'll really change the scenes that we already took photos of yesterday, and will probably create some great compositional opportunities. So we're just going to walk through the gorge with our camera bags and just shoot what we can as we go. Right now I've just got a shot framed up myself, and I'm just looking out the mouth of the gorge from the direction that we came. And I just have the leading lines of the gorge passing through, as well as this really nice tree poking through the top here. And I don't know if you can see it, but there is sort of a division in the pebbles right in the ground, where you have the dark ones here which were rained on last night, and the light ones here which weren't. I think that's going to create a really interesting element in the composition, I'd say. It's just going to be hard getting that exposure right with the light coming through behind it, so I might have to do an exposure bracket. But we'll see what it turns out as. This is what it looks like on the back of the camera. And I've just tried to keep it sort of a half and half composition, just keeping the ground plane and the area above that in sort of a balance, I'd say. Shooting this one 8 seconds, f11, ISO 100, and hopefully it turns out nice. And I'll put it up on the screen for you. Turned around from where I was at before, and I found another composition right away. So same sort of concept as the last one. I've tried to use the difference in color between the two pebbles as a leading line into the gorge, and then I also on this one have the nice greenery on one side of the gorge coming down and really bringing a lushness to the photo, I'd say. But I actually think I like this one a bit more than the one I took previously, but I'll show you what I'm looking at here as usual. So we have a really defined line passing through the gorge, or those pebbles right there, as well as the lushness of this moss-covered rock on one side, and then the interesting water patterns that were created probably over thousands of years on the gorge on this side. And on the back of the camera, it looks pretty nice, I'd say. I've used the polarizer to sort of bring back the reflections in those rocks a bit, and try and, I guess, create a bit more balance between the two sides. So this one's going to be shot at 6 seconds, f11, ISO 100. And I've also angled the camera down slightly just to emphasize the distortion and to make these cave walls just seem a little bit bigger than they actually are. And I think I'm probably going to end up cropping it into 4x5 just to get rid of that extra dead space that I have here at the bottom of the composition. So I'll just throw up whatever I have. Just come across another scene which looks pretty nice to me, and it's, again, just looking straight back down the gorge the way that we've been going. But what I really like about this one is how the gorge sort of bends in to meet the other side of it, It's like this curved form is coming out of the left side and then meeting into the one on the right side where it's nice and concave just above it. I think that looks really nice in the composition and as a photo. So I'll show you what I mean. What I really like is how you have this shape bending out this way, and then you have the cave meeting it with the same bend going inwards. I think that's going to create like a really harmonious element in the composition. And then, as well as all the other photos, you have that contrast of the wet stones with the dry stones on either side. And I've used my polarizer, but with this one I haven't fully turned it to be activated, so I've left it with a little bit of polarization on it, just to give a little bit of a reflection on the pebbles on the ground. And I think this really helps with the composition, because I guess it gives more depth to the pebbles on the ground, and really adds more contrast to the scene. Just getting eaten to death by mosquitoes while I do this. So we'll go ahead and we'll take the shot at 4-second exposure, f11, ISO 500. I've just bumped up that ISO because we're getting a bit of rain coming down now, so I want to try and avoid getting as much rain on the lens as possible. So we'll go ahead and take the shot. So I got another composition lined up, pretty much the same as one I shot yesterday. I'm starting to wonder whether a lot of the photos I take today are going to look pretty much the same as the ones I took yesterday. But I guess it'll be nice to see the difference between the conditions of the 2 days, with now having the rain falling all over the gorge. I think it could look pretty nice, especially with all the lush greens and the dark blacks in the boulders. But what I've got framed up here is, again, another wide-angle shot. Pretty much only use my wide-angle lens in this part of the gorge. I don't think it would be a very good idea to break out the 100 to 400, but I might do it on the way back just to, make sure that I get something decent. Because I don't want to drive all this way to the spot and then regret not using that lens or getting photos with it. But anyway, what I have framed up here is this lovely scene right here, where I've used this white rock as a foreground interest, and then the gorge sort of leads you through with that curved form just passing behind the wall. And then you also have this greenery all along the sides here, and you have the moss coming down on the right side. And I think it could lead to quite a nice composition. I even got it wide enough where I'm also including these trees up here at the top of the gorge, as well as the light coming through. The only challenge that I'm getting with this composition is trying to actually keep the camera dry, because at the moment it is slowly but surely getting soaked. So I've had to put the lens cap on for the time being. And I'm going to take it off now and hopefully be able to get that exposure before the light ruins my shot. So we'll go ahead and turn it on so you can see what I have here on the back of the camera. Brighten that up just a tiny bit. But this is the sort of image that we're working with at the moment. 4-second exposure, f11, ISO 100. And we'll hit that shutter button. Hopefully we don't need to do a bracket for this one, because that would be quite a difficult thing to do with the rain falling down. But if we need to, it'll be done. But I'll throw up whatever I've got, and let me know what you think. So we're heading back out the gorge now, and as promised, I'm doing it with the 100 to 400 with tripod in hand. It feels ridiculously heavy, but I have already got one shot that I wouldn't have got otherwise. I think it might turn out nice, but we'll have to see. But anyway, got a few hundred meters to walk down this gorge with my arms burning from carrying this tripod. But it's all going to be worth it. And then after that, I think we have another 5 hours walk back to our campsite. And then we don't even know what we're going to do for the rest of the day. Don't know where we're going to stay, but work that out when we get there, I suppose. But if I get any more shots after this, I will put them up, and yeah, tell me what you think. After I took that last photo, the weather really took a turn for the worst, and it really made me glad that on the last day before I left for this trip, I thought to myself, maybe I will pick up a rain cover for my backpack, because I didn't actually have one. So I was really glad I had that, because everything just came down on us. It was a massive thunderstorm all around us, and the lightning was just banging off the canyon walls, and it was, honestly, even though you knew the lightning was coming, it was still enough to make you jump. It was just that loud. Luckily, it didn't last for too long though. We were in those conditions for about, I'd say, an hour, and by the time that they finished, it was actually quite a nice day, despite the fact that we were absolutely soaking wet. So throughout this time, I didn't really capture many photos, but I did manage to find one composition that I just had to take. So I'll put that one up for you, and just let me know what you think.
Why is it all...
We did it! So we had a bit of a change in plan since the last time that we saw you. As you could probably see from the footage I just put before, it was a crazy rainfall, and last 2 days we haven't had any signal, so we weren't sure what the weather was going to be like for the next few days. But when we got back, we found out that what happened today was maybe about half as bad as how it's going to be tomorrow and the day after. So our 10-day trip to Carnarvon Gorge has now turned into a trip to Carnarvon Gorge as well as a beach trip. So we're going to be going up to the Whitsundays up by Mackay and taking some photos at the beach. So it's going to be quite a change in pace from what we were doing before, long hikes in the middle of the rain. We're going east and living that good life on the beach. It's going to be, hopefully it's going to be no rain. We're going to have quite a bit of sun, and yeah, a lot nicer. We can even go for a swim.
Just a bit of a precision.
Yeah.
Whitsundays is next to Hurley Beach, not next to Mackay.
Whatever. It's going to be a good time anyway. I think it'll be a little bit nicer than sitting in a car miserable for a few days with rain pouring all around us. At least we'll be able to get some decent photos out of this. And it's going to be quite a contrast in the style of photos that come out from this trip. So far I've already took about 1,400. Julien's probably already took double that. So there's going to be a lot of work to do in editing these, but hopefully some photos turn out and hopefully you guys like them. And I guess we'll see you when we get back to Mackay, or Early Beach, wherever.